Welcome to the Foolish Wanderers podcast.
Why must I be surrounded by fools?
Welcome, Wanderer.
Hey Wanderers, welcome back to the Foolish Wanderers podcast, the podcast about anything and everything. Today, we're taking a look at some of the strangest things found in the desert.
And it's not just sand.
Not just sand and every once in a while the random... What else do you find in it? I guess cactus.
I think it's cacti.
Cacti. But a singular cactus. Yeah. Alright, but before we get started, we want to plug all of our social medias. If you want to give us an email, if you want a shout out, if you have questions, Kendra wants to give somebody advice. So if you want advice, give us an email at fwplisteners@gmail.com. And if you want to check out our Instagram where we post companion photos to all of our episodes, check out our Instagram at Foolish Wanderers Podcast.
And make sure you subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, which is just Foolish Wanderers Podcast. And then you can find all of our podcasts wherever you get your podcast from. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Are there any more?
You mean that we have our stuff on?
Yeah.
So, we have them on Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, ones like Deezer, Listen Notes, Player FM, basically everywhere except for Google Podcasts.
Oh my lord.
And Alexa. They didn't want us.
They didn't
But everywhere else, yeah.
Well, screw you, Alexa. We don't want you either.
It said, no, you're too weird for us. Try again later.
Whatever, people. Just make sure you listen to our podcast, listen to the episode 2 times, listen to it 5 times, and then share it with your friends, your neighbors, your mailman, your pet. I don't know.
Yeah, download a bunch of them if you're going on a road trip somewhere, maybe to the desert. Going to check out some of these strange places that we're going to talk about with a bunch of your friends. Download them, listen to them. Get some music. Get your music. Yeah, music and podcasts. That's what I listen to when I travel.
I listen to nothing. Lately, I've been doing nothing.
Really?
Just
that's what my mom does. I
just
don't
silence.
Understand.
I kind of like
so
it.
Bored.
I kind of like it.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I think it's kind of like, I thought it was kind of creepy. Like, oh, it's kind of like sociopathy, but
it's I mean, sometimes if I'm thinking, it makes sense. But otherwise, I don't like silence, so I have to have something.
I just like unplugging every once in a while.
Yeah, I think that's good for you. I think it's been more and more in the news. People are saying unplug at least for an hour a day.
Oh man, I think I go 30 minutes.
Maybe it's just 30 minutes. I don't know. At least a little bit of your day. It's good to just kind of ground yourself again. To not
weird.
Yeah.
I have a fact.
Oh, you have a fun fact? What is it?
Should I get into my fact?
Yeah.
Okay. So the high five is a recent invention.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I don't know the last time I did a high five, but
well, I mean, you don't really do it to
myself.
You want me to say fiance or?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, your fiance, and then you haven't really been able to touch other people, give them high fives or shake their hands for a long time. So,
plus that's kind
makes sense.
I think it's an awkward thing. Anyway.
Kind of, yeah.
So the high five didn't really start until at a pro baseball game. That's where it started in 1977. So Los Angeles Dodger player by the name of Dusty Baker, he hit his 30th home run of the season. And as he was rounding the bases on his way to home, he passed his teammate, Glenn Burke. And Burke raised his hand, and on instinct, Baker reached up and slapped it.
Okay.
Because he said, and I quote, "It seemed like the thing to do." The high five was born. I mean, I'm sure that the high five happened many, many times before that and everything like that. But this was a televised game and people were there. And so probably this is the first time the high five was documented. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
How was that instinct, though? That's my question. Is I guess now it's instinct because it's built into your everyday life. Now high fives are so common. But if it hasn't been then, it's what caused you to want to slap someone's hand?
I mean, I've never hit a 30th home run, let alone one home run, so I don't know.
That's true.
Maybe hitting 30 makes you want to slap some hands. I'm not sure.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go first in what you found, or?
Ooh, we're going to get into this desert This desert dig.
Yes.
What should I start with? I've got a list.
It's up to you.
Oh, I think I'll just start with the one that just sort of happened over the last year. I think this happened during. But the monolith in Utah. So you remember when this happened, right? Where people were finding these weird monoliths all over the place.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy because people were like thinking it's like aliens or something because they're like, oh, it's too smooth. It's like it's in really remote areas. So it was like, what? But in the back of my head, I'm like, it's probably just an artist that was just like waiting for someone for years to find this thing.
Uh-huh.
But
So
yeah,
so this is the first one that came up.
okay,
The first one was in Utah, in the middle of the desert.
okay,
So it was found by a team they were surveying bighorn sheep for Utah's wildlife agency. So they
oh,
were up in
okay.
helicopters they were using drones also. But they found this weird, so instead of finding bighorn sheep, they found this weird strange object, and it's about 10 to 12 feet tall, and it's in the middle of a remote part of Red Rock country, which is where it's only really accessible by on foot. It's very hard to reach by car.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of makes you wonder, like, how did you get that thing out there?
I don't know, but there are it's not seamless or anything. There's rivets
Okay.
it was put together, but it reminded the guys that found it of, and I think it reminded a lot of people of this, of the movie, the monolith from the movie, A Space Odyssey. I think it's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
There's a monolith. It's identical. It's like a stainless steel stick monolith, and it's used to it, and they put it in the desert too, and it's used to like attract the ancient.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's used as like a space door. I don't remember what the hell it's for, but like monkeys hit it, but with a stick.
Okay.
Anyway, so the monolith in Utah is believed to be a object of art. What should I say instead of object of art? A sculpture?
An art piece?
An
A
art
sculpture?
piece is
An art
better.
piece?
But so
An object of art.
an
I mean, not
object of
wrong,
art.
but
I'm not wrong, but I couldn't think of the word. But so the
alright.
art the art newspaper, they that's the name of them. Okay, the art newspaper. I'm not making that one up either. So the art newspaper observed that the monolith, resembled the freestanding plank sculptures similar to the minimalist artist John McCracken, who lived in New Mexico before his death in 2011, and whose work is represented by the sorry David, but David Zwerner Gallery,
Zwerner? Zwerner?
Zwirner. How do you say that? Zwinger?
Zwerner? Zwierner? Something
It's
like
with a
that, yeah.
Z though.
Zwierner? Yeah.
Zwinger?
Zwierner?
Yeah. Zwinger? Yeah. Zwinger Gallery. Anyway, they've also not accused, but asked Dan Toon, who's a metal sculptor, and he also said that he's not responsible for the monolith, and they don't really know where it's come from, but it's somebody's piece of art, somebody's art
Mhm.
installation.
I'm sure it's someone that's, is a fan of Space Odyssey, 2001 Space Odyssey, and also John McCracken. I'm sure they kind of like put it together, or like, I'm gonna do this. And I wonder how long it was out there though.
They don't know because
Yeah. What if it was the last thing John McCracken put out in the
it
world
could
and no one
be.
found it?
No one saw it. But this is a quote that I found, excerpt of something I found. But someone took the time to use some type of concrete cutting tool or something to really dig down almost in the exact shape of the object and embed it really well. And it's weird because there are no roads close by, but to
Mhm.
haul the material and to cut into the rock of the desert, they dug into the ground. That's what I was talking about. And haul the metal,
Yeah.
which is taller than 12 feet in sections. And to bring it all to this remote spot in the middle of the desert, it's really weird. There's no signs of where it could come from.
Yeah. I suppose it's like you have to have several people, I feel like, to go out there with you to take,
Mhm.
the supplies. And if you're probably going to be camping there, at least for the night, right? Because if you're going to spend the time to cut out this hole and drag this hole, like you're
Probably
almost like,
days it would take that to cut a
probably
hole into
uh,
rock.
at least a day, probably. I don't know. It's impressive.
But I mean, it could have. Some experts have said that it could have been there since the 40s and the 50s, for all they know. I mean, what was it? What did I see? Like the desert in Utah is, I think it's like 38. I gotta look this up. It just has millions of acres,
Mhm.
millions of acres.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
But they had to remove the monolith because it's illegal to install structures or art without authorization on federally managed public lands, no matter what the excuse is or anything or what it looks like.
Yeah, so it's probably even if someone alive still did it, they wouldn't admit to it because it's illegal, so you
It's
can't.
part of yeah. Plus,
Yeah,
it's
so there'd
part of
be.
the whole allure. You're like, oh, I don't know who it is.
Mhm.
Some sort of
Yeah.
alien could have done it. But anyway, it's weird. My thought of it is that it's probably that John McCracken. I mean, he died in 2011, and
Mhm.
like I said, a lot of the surveyors, people who watched these millions of acres for this Utah desert, said, for all they know, this thing has could have been there since the 40s or the 50s. They just don't. There's
Mhm.
no way to know. So I think it's him. I think it's John McCracken.
Wasn't there other copycat ones put up around the world though too after this one was
Yes,
found?
there were a bunch of we could do, like, another maybe, like, side story about that later on, but there were weird ones that, like, popped up in, like, Norway and
Mhm.
I think one in, like, France, around the world after this whole thing happened.
Mhm.
I mean, it went viral, so why of
Yeah.
course there's gonna be
Yep.
copycat of anything that goes viral, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense.
Mhm. Alright, Miss Katrina, do you have one?
Yes. Where should I start? Okay. Should we start with the phone booth in the Mojave Desert?
Yeah, that one's weird 'cause I read about this one too a little bit, and it's really weird.
It's kind of interesting if you think about it. But yeah, it's no longer there. It was actually removed in the 2000s. It was installed in 1948 to service the local volcanic cinder miners. However, by 1997, it became an internet obsession and kind of an icon. Apparently, people from around the world called the booth just to try to get someone to answer. And it kind of became a little bit of an environmental issue because people would camp around this phone booth just to hopefully be able to pick up the phone call of someone randomly around the world. And they'd leave trash and like basically destroy the land around it. So then it was taken like out of commission, removed from the spot in 2000. So
Cool.
yeah. All right. Which one do you got next?
Which one should I do next? Oh yeah, wait, I have something to add to that Mojave Desert phone booth thing.
Okay.
So
All right.
someone named Rick Carr, he spent 32 days near the phone booth and he answered 500 calls
Oh
and
my.
he claimed that one of the calls was from the Pentagon.
The person from Subway. You just call it from Subway.
Oh yeah, the subway in the Pentagon. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
That's a
another
lot of calls throughout 32 days.
I'm
That's
sure it's
impressive.
just like once you know the number to call for the Mojave
Hmm.
Desert phone booth, it just would be like funny to be like, haha, when you're drunk to call there.
That's true.
Hmm.
We're bored.
Or bored. Okay, my next one that I'll do is also in the Mojave Desert. And for the listeners that don't know where the Mojave Desert is, which I feel like most people don't,
Mm.
it covers California, Nevada, a little tiny little smidge of Utah, and a little bit of Arizona. And my next one is a swimming pool left in the Mojave.
I've heard
So
about this one, I think a while ago.
yeah, this one was created in 2014 and it's by Austrian artist Alfredo Barslugia. So it's a artwork and it's called The Social Pool. And the work consists of a swimming pool and it's 5 feet deep, 5 feet wide, and 11 feet long. And the pool itself is located in the Southern California part of the Mojave Desert and it's open for anyone to use, but the thing is, no, the location of the pool isn't just given away.
Mhm.
So to get it, you have to contact the West Hollywood Art Institute, and then you can obtain the GPS coordinates and a key to open the cover. So the pool is like has a cover, and then you're supposed to lock it away when you're not using when you leave.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. But yeah, and then the user also has to take a gallon of water with them to replace any water that's evaporated from the pool. Let's see. Oh yeah, so Google Maps revealed its location.
Oh no.
So Google Maps sort of just ruined this thing that this
Oh.
like they always ruin everything. But yeah, so Google Maps revealed its location to be in the southwestern San I'm gonna burn.
Bernardino?
Yeah, I can't say that word. It's too hard for me.
Okay.
Yeah, San Bernardino. There, I got it.
There you go.
County. Wait, whatever. It's located in the San Bernardino County, so you can get the coordinates.
Okay. I'm kind of impressed it was on Google Maps.
They get
Honestly.
everything though.
Yeah, that's true.
But so the pool officially closed on September 30th, 2014.
So it didn't even last like a whole year. It just was there and then it got.
Well, people ruin it. You know, they
Yeah.
go there and then they yeah, so like people have continued to like go there. Like I've seen YouTubers go there and see what's left of it, and it's just vandalized and
No.
destroyed. So, you know,
It
people
originally
do.
looked.
It looks cool,
Yeah, it looks really sleek and nice. I like it.
but you know, people do what people do and they destroy things.
That's why we can't have nice things.
What was it? Did you hear about the hitchhiker robot?
The what?
It was called it's like a hitchhiker robot. Like just look up hitchhiker robot in Google.
Oh, the one that like people would pick up. It wasn't like programmed, or was it programmed?
So it's called Hitchbot.
Okay.
So and it was a Canadian hitchhiking robot created by professors David Harris Smith and Frank Frauke Zeller. Oh my gosh. And so the idea of him was that he would do a cross country trip across Canada. It was a test to see how nice people were,
Hmm.
like to help him do his little journey.
He looks pretty nice. It's like,
It's got a smile. Yeah, it's got like a
yeah.
little smile.
He's like, so it looks like, what's it called? Like what are those buckets called? They get from like Lowe's, from like 10-gallon buckets. Is that what
Yeah,
they are?
it looks like that's what he is, but
Yeah. And then he has arms and legs with little cute rain boots.
but anyway, he did cross country trips across Canada, the Netherlands, and Germany, and there was no real issues until he went to the United States of America.
Of course.
And 2 weeks after beginning its U.S. trip in Boston, the robot was vandalized in Philadelphia. I think he was
Oh.
beheaded, actually.
Are you serious?
Yep, he was beheaded in Philadelphia.
Oh, are you kidding?
No, so yeah,
That's so messed up.
you know, people ruin it.
Jeez. If you can't be nice to a cute little robot, like, that says a lot about humanity. It sucks.
hmm Anyways, what do you got? What's your next one?
My next one? Alrighty. My next one is a 60-foot boat that was buried. So apparently
A 60-foot boat that was buried where?
it was somewhere in Egypt. It doesn't say the exact. It didn't say the exact desert, but it said so commonly like boats like the one that was found were used as like a burial device and like buried with like the kings and queens, like the royalty, because they're expensive. And then in 2016, Czech archaeologists uncovered an ancient funerary boat in the middle of the desert, just like not in a like a tomb or anything, I guess. And then so the 62-foot long boat dated back more than 4,500 years. It was found in a tomb made of mud bricks, so it wasn't like a fancy pyramid or anything. And apparently the wood was still pretty intact, so it was still in pretty good condition. But it was located nowhere near a royal burial ground. So people were like wondering if it was like a commoner or somebody, but they don't know how they get the money to be buried with the boat. So, and then it also wasn't like they're trying to figure out how it was transported inland and not like.
So it's not by any water? This
I guess
wasn't
not.
found by water?
Yeah, it's just like in the middle of the desert, and they don't really know. I guess it could have been back when it was buried or whatever. Like it could have been some sort of water there, but apparently
over time you think that what you're
it could have
saying is
been.
so that over time the water has moved away and
Yeah.
that's why. Okay.
Yeah. So they don't really know how it got there or who it belongs to, but
And they still don't?
yeah, they still don't. So
Weird.
yeah. Yes. What you got?
All right, my next one. I thought this was kind of cool. So in the Arizona desert, there's a giant arrow, like a huge giant, like it looks kind of like. I showed this to Mr. Kendra, this picture, and he thought it was like those Nazca lines in South
Oh
America
yeah.
where they have like
Yep.
the giant monkeys, and we've done one in Australia too, where there's a
Mhm.
giant, but it was done by a
Man.
local artist, not ancient
Yeah. It was recently
ancestors.
done.
Yep,
Yep.
recently done. So this giant so if in the Arizona desert, you can see this huge. It's a 20-meter long stone arrows, and for many years, local residents they've like it's baffled them on where how it got there. But in fact, these arrows were established in 1911, so before GPS and Google Maps, and they helped mail planes navigate and deliver packages to the West Coast.
Oh, that's smart.
Mhm. Yeah, so these huge giant concrete arrows help guide mail delivery pilots.
I'm kind of impressed they're still there, and they look. At least the pictures that you have, it looks still pretty well intact, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think that how should I say this? The weather in the desert would is not that harmful as if you
That's
compare it
true.
to like like not the desert, but weather in the Midwest or East Coast.
Hmm.
Like for example, like cars, there's a lot more
That's true.
older like classic cars that aren't completely rusted out and holes in it like in the Midwest or the East Coast. So
That's true. Yeah.
so yeah, these arrows are still really well preserved.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right. So the next one that I have is the ghost town of the Namibia Desert. So apparently, um, around like 1908, apparently there's a bunch of German settlers that settled in this desert, so that they could work for the diamond mines around there. So there's hundreds of German families that moved out to this desert, to the town of Kolmanskop, and then apparently, so like they had like homes, like big homes, hospital, casinos, theater. But by 1954, the diamond mining had kind of ceased, so everyone basically left the town. And so basically, everything just got filled with sand and is abandoned. I think now, actually, though, you can still go, a lot of people go visit it and take photos and like tour this area. So I think one of the bigger buildings was renovated into like a kind of like a welcome center kind of a thing.
Cool.
But it's kind of cool. The pictures of this place are actually like they're haunting, but they're still really cool because the architecture of the place is kind of cool. It's like a time capsule. I kind of want to go.
Yeah, the sand, like the image that you have, it just kind of looks like a house, like a regular
Hmm.
house.
Yep.
Just showing like the living room with the doorway looking through to maybe the dining room or the kitchen. I don't know, but it's neat because sand dunes have like taken over the house.
The sand fills up the room about halfway up the doorway, so it's taking over it quite a bit. I don't know. It's kind of cool.
Mhm.
All right, your turn.
All right. I think we've talked about Cadillac Ranch before, haven't we?
I think in our strange roadside attractions, I think we talked about it briefly. Yeah, because there's
Oh, you did
the
Carhenge.
Carhenge. Yeah,
That's what it was, and then you called
yeah.
it Cadillac Ranch, and I was like,
I know I messed
I was
up,
like,
but I'm sorry.
and I was like, nope. Yeah, I'll do Cadillac Ranch.
Okay.
I always wanted to go see it. So
Yeah.
Cadillac Ranch was created in 1974 by Chip Lord, Hudson Marquez, and Doug Michaels, who were part of the art group Ant Farm from San Francisco. And Cadillac Ranch is located in Amarillo, Texas. And it's an installation in a dusty cow pasture. So sort of the desert. It's the desert.
Kind of. Yeah.
I would
Deserts
think
in
it's the desert,
Texas.
yeah. And it's along eastbound I-40 between exit 60 and 62. So big, huge sculpture consists of 10 cars. They're all Cadillacs, half
Hmm.
buried, nose down, and facing west, at the same angles as the Cheops pyramids, according to Atlas Obscura, which is a really cool website, and you should totally check it out. The Cadillacs are completely covered in graffiti because nobody really cares, and the visitors are encouraged to add their own designs.
So like when they first put them in the ground, then they weren't painted at all. They're just
Yeah,
like the
there's
original
rusty old
colors. So
cars. Yeah.
okay,
hmm
it's kind of fun. Yeah, definitely like the different art styles of other people spraying on it makes it a cooler thing to go
Yep.
see.
And the Cadillacs, the years that they used are the Cadillacs ranging between 1949 and 1963.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yep, the cars were either really older, like they weren't running as well, or they were used junk cars.
That makes sense.
Yep.
It'd be a shame to just like half bury like a brand new Cadillac, like one that's working well. So.
I mean, I'm sure artists have done worse to like
Yeah.
expensive things for no reason.
True.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's kind of neat because so the 10 Cadillacs that are lined up,
Mhm.
the tail fins, it shows the evolution of the tail fin of the Cadillac over the years.
Oh, cool.
So that's a little neat little tidbit.
So the next one is a ballistic missile left over from the Cold War. So this is located near Tucson, Arizona. It's called the Titan Missile Museum. It's a national monument that preserves the complex 571-7, the only remaining Titan II missile out of 54. So they were once alert across the U.S. from 1963 to 1987, and like in top secret locations. But now you can go visit this missile. You can go check it out. And apparently, there's somewhere like at the museum you can experience a simulated missile launch, and you can head 200 feet underground to see the actual missile up close. So that's pretty cool.
These were to blow up the Soviet Union.
Yes, if that ever came to that, yeah.
Yes, but they've obviously been decommissioned, so you don't have to worry about anything.
What was it World War II? Is that when like there's like 3 or 4 bombs that were dropped that didn't explode and like still exist somewhere? Like wasn't like which
What?
So I know there's one called Fat Man. Was the
Fat Man?
Fat Man was the name of one of these bombs. Let's see.
Fat Man says it's the one that was detonated over Nagasaki. So that,
Yeah.
blew up and killed people.
Yeah, let's see.
What
Which ones were
ones are you
lost then?
think? Little Boy's the first one,
Okay.
and that's the one that, killed many, many people in Hiroshima. Are you thinking of like the Trinity test or something?
Maybe.
Because like the Trinity test was like conducted in New Mexico.
I don't think that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, so there's apparently 6. So it's not the big boy, fat man or whatever, but there are 6 US nuclear weapons that have been lost and never recovered. So
Where are they? Do they have names? Like Little Boy and Fat Man, which are the worst names ever, but horrible name to do a horrible act.
Yeah. I don't think they had. Well, they have like a generic name, but they call these like the 6 put together. They call them broken arrows.
I
So
think
it's
they
like
do a little bit more damage than a broken arrow, but
I know, but it's
so why, where are these? They can't find them, but
let me look it up. Okay, so it says since 1950 there have been 32 documented nuclear weapon accidents known as broken arrows. Broken arrow is defined as an unexpected event involving nuclear weapons that results in the accidental launching, firing, detonating, theft, or loss of the weapon. And then, like I said before, 6 of them have never been recovered.
oh my god.
Let's
So they
see.
didn't detonate, so that just means that they were just
They're still out there somewhere, unless someone recovered them that we don't know. So one of the missing ones looks like it's kind of by Washington State. One's on and two are on. One's on the East Coast. One's more down by Florida.
oh my god.
So those are or 3 of the missing ones are at least.
I bet you like Disney World abducted it and they have it. They're
They
holding
just
it
have
hostage.
with Walt Disney's frozen head. Yep.
That's crazy though. Where did you hear about this?
I think it was on History Channel. Honestly, I watched
Oh
that too
man.
much as a kid.
Ooh, can I still talk about the Prada store, even though I talk about that a lot? I think
Yeah,
I've talked about it like 3 times
of
on the
course.
podcast.
Of course, yeah. Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want me to look this up quick?
I'll talk about it and then you can once you find what you're looking for.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so I think I mentioned the Marfa Prada store sculpture probably like a few times throughout this podcast series,
I
but
think so.
I still think it's really cool. I've looked it up and I got even more information on it than I had before. So anyway, How should I start this? How should I start this, Katrina?
There's a random Prada store in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, there's
There you go.
yeah, there's a random Prada boutique in the middle of the desert, and it's 26 miles located outside the town of Marfa, Texas. So in 2005, it was created by Berlin-based artist Elm Green and Dragset. Those are cool names.
A little bit. Yeah.
Elm
I
Green
agree.
and Dragset.
That was cool. Yeah.
Anyway, this is an art installation, so it's a fake store. A lot of people, and I'm saying a lot of people think it's real for some reason.
I used to. When I first heard about it, I thought it was just like I didn't know much about it, but I was like, is there really a random store in the middle of the desert? Like, who goes there? Who staffs it? But it makes more sense that it's an art installation.
But also, and it's not a real shop, but it does contain real Prada merchandise. And these two,
Mhm.
Elm Green and Dragset, they contacted Prada, and they had one of their, I think it was like just a fashion designer or fashion merchandiser, whatever you want to call it. Someone in Prada, they had them help pick out merchandise to put into the store, like iconic
Interesting.
bags and iconic looks that would just really look like everyone would know it's Prada. Besides how many signs that say Prada on the stupid
Yeah.
building, right?
Exactly.
Anyways, but when it was opened, like I think it was 2 days after, like 3 days maybe, it was robbed and vandalized. So
Well, yeah, you put these like $1,000 bags.
thousands of dollars, bags,
Yeah.
shoes. So yeah, so now they have like upgraded the glass to I think it's like bulletproof and whatever else, and they have surveillance on it also.
My only question is like, how did you not see that coming? Like in
I
the middle of
think
nowhere.
I think that I mean these two are from Germany, right? They like the robot we were talking about, the hitchhiking robot, Hitchbot from the
But this
Canadian professors. They probably look at humanity, or I should say Americans, as being very kind people. When, they're probably like, "Oh, no one's gonna destroy the robot, or no one's gonna vandalize and rob our sculpture, our art installation that we've worked, countless hours on and spent a lot of money on too." And then, robbers.
Oh man. Especially with
Bullies.
something that like expensive. Like it's a target waiting to get robbed.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's like stealing money from a baby. I mean, it's
Exactly. It's in the
thousands
middle
of
of
dollars
nowhere.
just sitting there in the middle of nowhere
Yeah,
in a
no
desert.
cops. Like what?
But
Yeah.
now, if there's any rascals listening, there's like bulletproof glass and surveillance. So good luck.
Is it so
And
it's still there then? Or
yeah, but it's built of biodegradable substance, so the building is designed to slowly decay back into the earth.
okay. That's
So
cool.
I mean, it's cool, but you might want to get there like before it isn't there anymore.
True.
Anyway, since it's a art installation, the whole idea, the message behind this art piece is it's um a surrealist commentary on Western materialism. That's
Okay.
just what I have. I don't want to try and unpack that, uppity sentence, but that's just what the artists want to say about it.
Okay.
Oh, also there was a tiny Target, but it was demolished. And it wasn't even
Oh.
but like this tiny like you can like look up the tiny Target. It wasn't like nice. It seemed like it's not to the same scale or wheel, as the Prada store.
Was it like the same size then or
N- um
was it smaller?
it looked like honestly it just looked like a abandoned building that
Oh,
somebody just like spray painted the Target sign and then put the word Target over it.
that's depressing.
Yeah, it's not nice. I mean, like I said, I think it's just like it was an abandoned building that someone just tried to make it look like. Oh, I found it. So it was a mini. What was it? Oh, I didn't find it. Never mind.
Okay. So I found a few articles about those missing bombs. So it's been like throughout the last, I think it's like throughout the last 70 years now, since like the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
But the longest missing nuclear weapon hasn't been seen in 71 years.
Who has it?
So it says it was first lost when a crew of U.S. Air Force Convair B-36 bomber was conducting a mock nuclear strike. They were en route from Eielson Air Force Base in Alaska to Carswell, Texas, when they've developed engine troubles. So they didn't want to crash with a nuclear weapon on board, so they decided to drop this. It is Fat Man. So they dropped the 30 kiloton Mark IV Fat Man bomb into the Pacific Ocean. It didn't contain the plutonium core, it said, necessary for nuclear detonation, but still contained substantial amounts of uranium. So that's somewhere in the Pacific Ocean now.
That's great.
Yep. And then 6 years later, there were 2 nuclear cores lost in a B-47 bomber that likely crashed into the Mediterranean Sea while en route from MacDill, Florida to Ben Gur in Morocco. They apparently completed the first aerial refueling, but then it failed to meet up with a second ship apparently for refueling and was reported missing. So they didn't disclose the exact weapon, but apparently it typically carried the 3,400 kilogram Mark 15 nuclear bomb. So then neither traces of the plane or the cores have ever been found. So those are completely lost.
Well, that is depressing, and I don't want to think about it anymore.
So there's another one in 1958 that was lost over the Wassaw Sound near the mouth of the Savannah River. Never recovered, obviously. And then in 1961, there is somewhere near Goldsboro, North Carolina, a uranium core is likely buried in a field. One of the cores for a pair of 24 megaton nuclear bombs that were on a B-52 that crashed shortly after takeoff. So, yeah. And then again, 1968, the final bomb that was lost and never recovered apparently was involved in the loss of a U.S. Navy nuclear attack submarine, the USS Scorpion.
Scorpion.
Yeah, see. And it says that it sank about 400 miles southwest of the Azores Islands, Azores.
Where are those?
Let me look it up. They are in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So a little bit west of Spain and Portugal.
Okay.
Is it not in the middle of the ocean, but more towards their side, but
All right.
basically in the ocean.
Freaky.
So yeah, so there's a lot of explosives.
There's a lot of weird stuff in the ocean too.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. Yep.
But we're talking about the desert today, so
The opposite of an ocean. All right, so the next one I have is north of Santa Barbara, along the Guadalupe Nipamo dunes, stands a 35 feet tall statue of Ramses II. And there's a promenade lined by 5-ton sphinxes and 800-foot long temple. Rather than being the remains of an actual ancient metropolis, these structures are actually from the long forgotten film set of CecilB.DeMille's The Ten Commandments. It's a big deal. CecilB.DeMille's The Ten Commandments. One of the largest.
Like that movie.
That's the really old one, right? That's on every Easter.
Yeah. I think it's on ABC or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's live action. Yep, from the 50s. I don't even know. I think it might be older than that. It's probably the 50s.
Somewhere in there. And it's one of the largest and most expensive film sets in Hollywood history.
I believe it.
So apparently they couldn't afford to dismantle the set, and DeMille didn't want to have people come and either use it again for different films or take pieces of it. So they buried it in sand.
How
it's still there.
How cool would it feel if you were just playing in the dunes, as a kid or something, to just uncover this little
That'd be pretty
fake
cool.
Egyptian city?
That'd be really cool if it wasn't in the middle of a desert, because I'd be very concerned of why I was in the middle of a desert. But yeah, that would be really cool. But then
what I don't get is, how do you not have money to? Why is it expensive to destroy this?
I think that's kind of my question too, is if you put so much effort into building it, why wouldn't you want to at least preserve it in a museum or something? I think what they're saying is like they probably just had enough to build it and to film it and to hire all these actors. And then it was, since they're so heavy, I think to carry it all back out of the desert.
Plus, if it's a 35-foot tall
Yeah. And
statue in an 800-foot long temple.
yeah. So they're not small little structures. They're massive. So I think it's just like trying to, I wonder where they actually built the set then. Because they had to tote it all out here, but then they couldn't afford to tote it back to
I
all
don't
the way
know,
there anymore.
but I mean that movie's from 1956. I looked it up,
Good.
and it's for CGI or any like real computer effects. So it
Yeah.
is an epic film. So they needed a epic set, I guess.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just sad that they just basically trashed it
Mm-hmm.
since it's such an iconic set. And yeah, like I get why you wouldn't want somebody to come and take all your hard work and stuff, but it's also sad to say, oh, just bulldoze it. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't mind, I guess, if someone would be willing to pay extra to tote it back to Hollywood or something,
Oh,
even
here,
if it's like in a museum.
yeah. Oh, here we go. So 60 years later, a filmmaker named Peter Bronson decided to find the site of DeMille's lost city. And in 1990, after years of searching, he partnered with archaeologist John Parker to survey the site with ground penetrating radar.
Ooh,
And
okay.
this is from KCET, so probably like a local news station.
Mhm.
Also the project was partially supported with Smithsonian funds. So the
Oh, wow.
Smithsonian Institute randomly wanted this.
That's cool.
So Bronson discovered that DeMille set was still there and sphinxes and all hidden beneath the dunes. And because those dunes are home to the western snowy plover, what the heck?
What's a snowy plover? Let me look
I
it up.
don't know. Look that up. The western snowy plover.
Oh, it's a cute little bird.
Oh,
It
it's
looks
a
like a
bird.
killdeer. Yeah. Oh, it looks like a
Oh,
killdeer if you live in the Midwest. We see those a lot.
okay. So because those dunes are home to that bird,
Oh,
Bronson had to spend years petitioning for permission to excavate the site, and it wasn't until the fall of 2014. Remember, he started this in 1990. So the fall of
dang.
2014, that the Ten Commandment relics were finally dug out from the sand. An anonymous donor helped fund the excavation, which discovered one of DeMille's sphinxes in the same place where it stood during filming. However, the plaster used to make the sphinx was extremely fragile.
Oh,
And this is a quote, it was like working with a hollow chocolate rabbit.
oh no.
John Doug Jensen, executive director of the Guadalupe Nipomo Dune Center, where the Sphinx was found, he was taught. So, what else did he say about this? These were built to last months during filming in 1923, and these statues have been sitting out in the elements since then. To preserve the Sphinx, which is now on display, you can go see it at the Dune
Ooh,
Center. It was sprayed with epoxy and filled with stabilizing foam.
that makes
So,
sense.
yeah, but unfortunately, funding ran out before they could dig up another Sphinx and the rest of his set, so it might not last much longer. So, who else? It said that it's disappearing so fast, and archaeologists originally thought it'd last until 2090, but
Oh,
every time they go out to look at it or
mhm.
like check on it, more is gone, more is disappearing.
So was it still buried when they found it, or was it like slightly uncovered?
It was buried because sand
Okay,
dunes move so much, so they had
that's
to
true. Yeah,
excavate it. But
yeah,
I'm sure it doesn't really help that. I mean, I don't really know. I'm talking out of my ass, but I'm sure that since they have excavated it, right, and it's exposed,
that's true. Yeah, it's
that
gonna
that's it's
decompose
it's
faster.
decomposing faster. So I don't know. If you have like $3, go give them some money. I don't know.
I guess it that might have been too why DeMille didn't want to like carry it back because he knew like it wasn't gonna last forever. And it was just like, what's the point? I don't want anybody to use it, and
Yeah,
it's
I
just gonna
read that he didn't want anyone to use it.
yeah.
I read that his original plan was to bring it back
Okay.
and then like bulldoze it or blow it up with dynamite. So
That's kind of sad actually, but
I would let other people use it.
yeah, it's
It's
like
like
you.
who cares?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't
Um,
know. Directors are weird.
True.
Alrighty. We got any more for this week's episode, or?
Do you want to close it off with some buried sea mammal skeletons?
That sounds delightful.
Okay. So in Chile's Atacama Desert, I think it's
Atacama, yeah.
I think it's what it's called. Yeah. There's a hill called Cerro Balina, or called Whale Hill, which has long been known as a fossil bed for whales. Thanks to visible bones sticking out of the rocks, it was only during roadworks on the Pan Am Highway in 2014 that researchers were allowed to access and to properly examine the site. So, according to BBC, scientists now have a theory as to how some of the mammals ended up in the location more than 5 million years ago.
Oh my gosh.
So the evidence suggests that it was a result of 4 mass strandings due to ingesting toxic algae. So then the whales were washed up into an estuary where they became buried with sand over millennia, and then now we have their bones.
What do you mean stranding? What does that mean?
So it's like if let me look up the definition of an estuary. A lot of times, so like if like the tide or like if you get a lot of rainfall and like the sea levels and ocean levels rise, and then they can go into like smaller streams or like little ponds and stuff, like offshoots of like the ocean. And then when it gets like ocean levels go back down, the land kind of resurfaces, like it kind of shrinks, so then like land is uncovered again, so then they're stuck because they can't go over the land to get back to the ocean, so
Oh,
they
so
just
they
get stuck.
die. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
because they can't get back.
sad. Oh
Yeah.
man, I looked it up. There's like more than 40 whales and other marine mammals
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
And it says it's the largest fossil mass stranding site in history.
Yeah. So there must have been like
Whoa.
somewhere around there like a bunch of toxic like algae or something that they were eating or ingesting, and then they all just kind of ended up there. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it's kind of a cool thing to look at.
They're able to make like 3D renderings of these animals from what they found with like the fossils and stuff.
Okay.
And Smithsonian paleontologists, they can continue to study how changes in climate over the millennia have or may or have affected marine biodiversity. So it's a really cool find, and they're able to look for some, I don't know, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, we ended on a whale graveyard.
I feel like we do that quite often. Like we end with like kind of like a morbid ending. Like
And
graveyards
that's
and stuff.
okay. We'll all be in a whale graveyard soon enough.
Fair enough. Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
All right, people. Thank you for tuning in this week.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to us ramble on about random things left in the desert or found in the desert. If you guys want to check us out on Instagram, we post companion images for each of the episodes. So if you want to check out what we're talking about, well, that'll be over on Instagram at Foolish Wanderers Podcast. And then you can also email us if you want advice. Kendra wants to give somebody advice. If you want a shout out, if you have any future podcast ideas, you can email us at fjwplisteners@gmail.com. And of course, check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, listen to our podcasts, and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Yeah.
Yep, and we'll see you next Wednesday with a brand new episode.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Should I tell you my butterfly story then?
Yes, please.
Well, I liked butterflies as a child too,
Okay.
but my like and fascination was a bit probably different than yours.
Uh-oh. What? Did you kill them and put them on your wall?
Yeah. I had a book. This sounds really sickening now as like an old lady and as an adult. So I had how this all started was I had a butterfly book.
Okay.
So it had like pictures of them, all the different kind of butterflies, and it showed, just their names at the bottom of the butterfly picture and where they were located. And I dog-eared paged the pages on all the butterflies that were located in Minnesota that I could
Okay.
find.
Mhm.
So that was kind of like my hit list,
Oh no.
like a serial killer, like a bounty hunter or something.
Ah.
And then I got a net. I told my mom, I was like, I want like a net. So I got a butterfly net, and I
Okay.
made sure that the netting like was very tight knit so that
Okay.
butterflies couldn't get out. So I was
Yeah.
like, no, I was like, it has to be very tight knit, otherwise they'll escape. Cause
That's
they,
butterfly net.
mm,
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
So I bought one of those, and then I went on my hunt for an entire summer, and I caught them, and you know, I put them in a jar, and I didn't make any air holes, and they died. So I thought they were too pretty to throw away. So I put them on a piece of cardboard, and I used tacks and went tick, 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 and I had an entire wall filled with them.
This is how serial killers kind of have their origins.
No, no. That's no. All the serial killer people start with they like
It's like
murder.
bunnies.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
murder like mammals, like
Yeah.
puppies, bunnies, kittens.
Ew.
I mean, like, I would never, ever, ever harm.
Yeah.
No, that's sick. But it's a
But
bug.
did your parents know that you did like
Yeah,
kept them in a
they
jar
have
without air
me.
holes?
They didn't know
Oh.
that. They didn't know that part. But I think they probably
No.
would have helped me, like given me like a little something, to
And like feed them, put some air holes in there.
yeah.
Like
But
yeah.
no, I had this huge piece of cardboard with all of them on there, and it was very beautiful. And
Oh wow.
I brought it around and showed people, and I eventually had to get rid of it because
Yeah.
the colors from the butterflies start to come off like paint pigment, like dust. So they
Is it
lost
the
all their color.
scales?
They have scales? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the wings have scales. I think that's what the color is
Oh,
on. It's like the
cool.
scales.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they were all white after.
They're white?
Yeah, like all the colors
Oh
fall
wow.
off. It's like
I
clear,
didn't know they
sort of
turned
like
white.
white stuff. Yeah. Maybe
Oh,
it was the
that's
sun. I
interesting.
don't know. But
They could have left it on the moon for too long.
I think that my parents figured out that I was like keeping the butterflies in a not nice environment because they bought me um a plastic what they put like hermit crabs in when you
Oh,
get a
like
pet hermit
yeah,
crab.
like an
Yeah, so
aquarium kind of
they gave
thing.
me
Like
something like that,
okay,
but I mean I still
that's
kept
good.
them too long.
Yeah, I gathered that. I
I would
mean, when you're a
sob.
kid, when they died. Oh,
No. Of
oh.
course, no. I would sob if I remember I had a caterpillar and I wanted
Mhm.
to keep it and my mom was like, "No." So I had to release it and I was
Mhm.
just sobbing for
Oh.
probably hours until dinner time and then I was fine. But I was so heartbroken. I was like,
Oh.
"I'll just keep it till it dies."
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, but I didn't know like you don't know what death is when you're little.
That's true. Yeah, you see pretty things. You're like, oh, I want
Mhm.
this. Yeah. I mean, it'd be different if you're like a teenager and did that. Then
Oh,
that's different
that's problematic.
a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, when I was about 5 years old, I had a butterfly bounty hunter trophy case.
Hit list.
Yeah.
I'm a butterfly bounty hunter.
Yeah, I know I dressed up like you know who Dog the Bounty Hunter is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I dressed up as Dog the Bounty Hunter and was like, I don't know what he says, but
I haven't watched that show in forever. I don't know.
I don't know if he's have a catchphrase. I always thought I get him and that Hulk Hogan wrestler mixed up.
Yeah, they look pretty similar actually.
I get those two mixed up all the time.
Yeah, so it says butterfly wings are covered in many tiny scales that overlap like shingles on our roof.
I had no idea.
That's why you don't touch butterflies' wings, otherwise they like come off and then they
Yeah,
can't. Yeah.
there's that. Isn't there that disease? Is it called butterfly glass? That horrible skin disease that very few people have, where their skin is very delicate, or is it their bones are delicate? Either one or the other. One or the other. One of the diseases that both of them touch it bad, like falling, getting like bumping into things could cause their skin to like something bad happen to their
Oh,
skin or their bones to break. I don't remember what.
I I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I've heard it called that, I guess.
I'm gonna look up butterfly glass children, and I'm scared of what I'm gonna find.
And this is why you have a CIA watching you.
Yeah.
Listening into your phone.
Okay, that didn't come up as anything. I guess it's not called that.
Might be just like glass bones. Maybe that's what it is.
Butterfly children? Do you think that will help?
Butterfly
Yes!
children? Is
Butterfly
that what it's called?
children. That's what they are called. Epidermal bullosa. Epidermal bullosa is a rare genetic condition that makes the skin so fragile that it can tear or blister at the slightest touch. Children born with it are often called butterfly children because their
Oh.
skin seems as fragile as a butterfly wing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what it was. Horrible, horrible disease. Awful.
I think I've seen a few documentaries about them, like about this disease. And yeah, no, it's they don't live
Horrible.
very old, do they? Like you
Mm-mm.
can't really live for.
No, unfortunately. But I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah, horrible. Other names of this is called cotton wool babies.
I like butterfly better.
I like butterfly. Cotton wool babies doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe it's because they have to wrap their wounds, like wrap them up in cotton and stuff all the time. So that way they don't touch
Oh.
things.
Honestly, they should try and figure out like a cure rather than nicknames. Here's another one. Crystal skin children. I like the butterfly children. That sounds
Butterfly
cool.
is definitely the best.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The other ones are horrible. Like, what is I wonder if there's like a glass one then for the bones.
Yeah, it was another disease called glass bone disease.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what they call it. It's let's see.
Yes. I'm gonna butcher this. But it's also called brittle bone disease. That's the that's the
Yeah.
layman's terms, but here it is. Osteogenesis imperfecta. Oh, that was really easy to say.
Good job. Yeah.
That's how I mean all words are kind of, you got to figure out the first few letters and then here you go. Man. Sometimes I mean, I think everyone does that where they just combine two different things that they've
Yep.
heard of and then they're like, "Oh, it's probably this." Like forget what you're referencing. Yeah.
Yeah.